Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about my own experience with anxiety. And I'm going to be very transparent here, talking from the heart that you guys can connect to. And I'm going to go through my low points here. I'm going to talk about things that I experienced and then what helped me. I'm going to put it all together in a 10-minute video so you guys can see it, understand where I'm coming from, and hopefully this will help some of you. So for me, it all started when I was 9 years old. I choked on a piece of deep dish pepperoni pizza, and that freaked me out so badly that for months I could not eat my food. I could not swallow. I had to consciously think about every single time I swallowed and chew my food to a ridiculous amount. I literally would sit in my school lunch and have anxiety about being able to finish my lunch in time to make it back to class. And I lived like that for a couple of months until I eventually gained a little bit of confidence when that anxiety and fear dissipated and I could eat normally. So that was my first experience. My second experience happened when I was 17 when I had a girlfriend at the time that was a year older, and she was moving on to college. She was basically my first love, and I had a bunch of anxiety revolving around those first experiences within a relationship. And that really got to me to the point where I was anxious about how I was feeling. So I was worried about worrying, and then I had another panic attack. I didn't know what anxiety was, and essentially that summer came around. I had a horrible couple of months of general anxiety, and then I went through a self-help program. I did a bunch of reading, I did a bunch of studying, I learned some cognitive work that I could do that I utilized, and as I went back to school and occupied my mind with schoolwork, it dissipated. So that was my second time dealing with anxiety. Third time around was this past year. Same sort of trigger. It was a relationship where she was moving away and we were in love. Ironically enough, my anxiety wasn't about the relationship. It just, the stress of it when she moved and everything triggered the anxiety. And I had a bunch of general anxiety about existential things, obsessive, irrational thoughts that were ridiculous. And I think the worst part of my condition was the ADHD and the inability to escape, the inability to connect. And what I mean by that is connect to what I was doing in the moment. Like I could never get in the flow of engagement, and that was the hardest thing. Like every time I would sit down to relax or myself, I just would have boom, distressful triggers and thoughts come into my head. Now the real breaking point happens when I traveled abroad to the UK, where both my parents are from, because I hadn't seen my cousins that I'm actually close with 10 years, so I really wanted to go. Leading up to the flight, I was having even more heightened anxiety because I knew I was going to be out of the country, and I knew I wasn't really in a stable emotional state, and I could not sleep leading up. I think I slept a total of 4 hours within the 2 days leading up to the flight, so I was already exhausted, and when that happened, the flight was coming out, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go into soldier mode, and I'm going to force myself, I'm going to do this, just going to do it and face it. And I did, and I went on the flight, but when I got there, the first night there, I also couldn't sleep again. I had a really bad panic attack of fearing like, God, I can't sleep now, and if I don't sleep, my anxiety is going to be worse, and then when my anxiety is worse, I'm not going to be able to sleep again, and basically I'm never going to be able to sleep again within my panicked mind at that time. And I think at this point I was up for about 60 hours. So we went to urgent care. I basically got a bunch of Valium and knocked myself out. And it basically was that point where I talked to a psychiatrist that was good friends with my aunt, and she was saying, this in Irish accent, "This is not the time to be a hero. Take the bloody tablets." And I was like thinking to myself, whoa, like, is that right? Am I trying way too hard to do this on my own? I resolved to, when I got back to the States, to start taking medication and give it a try. At this point, it really couldn't get much worse. So when I got back, we went, and I kind of had a little bit more hope, so my anxiety was feeling better. So I'm like, okay, I can start some medication, and that might help me get back on my feet. And the psychiatrist I can talk to about my anxiety and give me like a goal breakdown and talk to me about the different medications. And when I got there, I sat down, started to tell him my story of what happened, and he literally cut me off. He was like, whoa. And I'm like, what? And he just took a sheet of paper and slid it over to me, and it was just those lists of symptoms on a scale of 1 to 10 within the past 2 weeks. I'm like, and at that point I was like, whoa, he like doesn't even want to listen to me, and he's just gonna give me a survey. I'm like, okay. I mean, there's nothing I could do at that point. So I sat, and he prescribed me Lexapro and Klonopin. And then when I first came out of the appointment, I was hesitant to take any medication. I did take the Klonopin to help me sleep at night because I needed that. I really had trouble sleeping with my anxiety, so I needed to sleep in order to battle it cognitively. And I took it in minimum amounts as I could because I don't like benzos. They give me rebound anxiety. But I did not take the Lexapro at first because I did not trust the guy. I didn't feel good about him at all. And I wanted to take it under circumstance where I could trust a psychiatrist. So I went about searching for a psychiatrist that I would trust, and literally there was just lines for every psychiatrist. They weren't accepting new patients, the ones that I liked the sound of when I was reading their bios.
Mr. Holbrook, it's Dr. returning your call. Right now I'm not taking on new patients.
Thank you for calling me, but I'm sorry, my practice is full. Good luck.
And other than that, the ones that I could maybe get into, my insurance didn't cover.
Office, so I checked your benefits. Unfortunately, the doctor is not in network.
At that point, I was like, fuck it. Let's just take this Lexapro and see what happens. After about a month, it was helpful, but I knew it wasn't the answer. I knew it wasn't the cure. I knew I still wasn't where I wanted to be. Came across meditation, which I thought I was already meditating, but it just so happens I was just laying on my bed doing self-hypnosis, listening to those tracks, and I thought that was meditating, but it turns out it's not. And when I came across a true practice of meditation, I dove into it and I loved it. And essentially, I began meditating every day. I started with 10 minutes a day. And my meditation revolved around training within sustained attention and peripheral awareness. So basically, I started meditating, and I meditated for a couple months. And within 2 or 3 weeks of meditating, 20 minutes to an hour a day, I felt magnitudes of times better. I felt like I came across a method of I could take what I was doing when I was practicing my meditation and apply it to my everyday scenarios of life to embrace my anxiety and observe it and really not try to change it. And this, I have another video on this as well, and that's the embracing negative feelings with the AAA technique of acknowledging, allowing, accepting. And I applied that to my everyday scenario and routines that I went through work. I started going back to work at that point too. Socialize again. I be able to read more efficiently again. And it really started to clear it up. And I got actually super excited about it and building those two things of awareness and peripheral attention. So 3 months into meditating, my anxiety was almost completely dissipated. And I still had some remnants of it, but it was nothing like it was used to. So at that point, I felt comfortable to try to wean off my medication. And so I did. I came off of it after about a month. Again, if you guys ever think about doing this, at least talk to a psychiatrist that you really trust and help you walk you through this process. And once I got over all this anxiety and really into the meditation and feeling better, I thought, you know what? Let's try and get into more into social media, because I was really big into it before. But this time I'll revolve around something I'm really passionate about posting, and that was this whole wellness idea, this whole idea of talking about anxiety, talking about emotional and stressful situations, and seeing if I could come up with things that may help other people. Like, what have I done that has brought me this far in my whole life of dealing with anxiety, and what's been extremely helpful for me and what hasn't been. And I know these years of experience, the years of reading I've done, the studying I've done, the self-help programs I've been through, the research into meditation, my own meditation experiences, that I have a lot to offer and knowledge to bring to the table that's got to help some of you. So that's what I'm here for. That's what my goal is. This is what I'm passionate about. So I want to create a community around this where, we can openly talk about our anxiety, or we can just talk about self-improvement, self-actualization if we want to go that far later on. Let's do it. I'm going to put this out there and just hopefully some of you can connect and some of you can relate. If you liked it, you found some value out of that, please subscribe and hit the bell button, because I'll be posting more videos with helpful hints, helpful tips, things that I do to overcome my obstacles and challenges. And I promise it'll bring some value to you guys. So thanks for watching, stick around, and I'll see you guys later.